Hello guys, Hydra here, and in today's video I want to be talking to you about some of the central themes within ARPGs that, for me anyway, keeps players interested and gives a major source of enjoyment within the game. This is going to be a good old-fashioned rant, so I'm going to be rambling on for a fair old while, so get yourself a couple of biscuits, get yourself a couple of tea, and get yourself strapped in. So the reason for this talk is I was playing a bit of Van Helsing 3 yesterday, which is currently on the Steam sale. I'd say it's fairly decent. I'd start with the first game, of course, worth a pick up for a couple of bucks. I'm not being paid to say that. But this got me thinking, because Van Helsing 3 is actually a fairly decent ARPG and a fairly classic ARPG with a few, well, tweaked features that are unique to the genre. But it got me thinking. I was plonked into the middle of a forest, of a jungle, a forest, a swamp. It was some sort of combination of those three things, and I had no idea where I was going, but I knew I had to find a certain thing. And during my exploration for this thing, I found other stuff. I found quests, I found chests, I found new enemy types, and there was quite a sense of I was just happy exploring the map and seeing what was going on. Finding new quests, new dialogue, etc. Obviously the game is sort of linear, it's not randomly map generated, but it's my first time playing it and I was having quite a lot of fun just doing this. Now, obviously there's combat mixed in with that, but it got me thinking about Inquisitor Martyr. Before I start with this rant, this is not a real criticism of Inquisitor, this is a question, because obviously Inquisitor hasn't had the majority of its content added yet. We don't know what the majority of the content even looks like. But this is me posing a question, just open, throwing it out into the ether, because I do have a little bit of a concern. Now my concern is it boils down to three things. The first thing is exploration, okay? Exploration in a typical ARPG, there's a lot of areas where you just don't know where you're going and you have to find something, okay? And this is sometimes frustrating, but a lot of the time it's just sort of part and parcel of the enjoyment, and I feel like Inquisitor's gone the other direction, and this sort of comes and melds with point number 2, which is that the corridor-based tile system is both a joy and a curse. It's a joy in that you can have all these different arrangements, but it's a curse in that you either have a player with a blank map doing loads of backtracking because they don't know where the objectives are. That's going to piss a lot of people off. Or you tell them exactly where the objectives are, they have to go find them, and it's quite boring because you know exactly where you're going the moment you load into this, and basically any sense of within the actual gameplay exploration is sort of whacked on the head before it even gets a chance to take its first breath. You load into the mission, you see where you're going, and you say, right guys, we're going straight ahead, and then we're taking a left and the second right, and you know, that's our three objectives there, done. Now this is sort of the first of the issues, so in that sense I really do hope that Inquisitor is going to move away from the corridor-based tile sets for at least some of the map types. So picture sort of planets, ruins you're exploring. I would like to see multiple bigger, sort of wider open spaces that are all next to each other, not in a line, but maybe in a block per se. And you know, you can explore this as a wider open space. I think while it would be quicker to navigate and may shorten any mission, it's a sort of a feature of an ARPG that I think is just classic to the genre. These spaceships don't need to go, but I just think if you have every map being a corridor-based system, even if it's a wide open planet with a visible sky, it's still a corridor-based system if it's a set sort of walkway you can walk down. I don't think that actually adds anything to the ARPG genre as much as it takes away. It takes away a lot of the sense of exploration and part of the combat as well, because you see, in an ARPG, when you are trying to juke mobs when walking around these spaces, you invariably pull other mobs and you get yourself a situation where you think, oh shit, what have I done? And that is just one of those classic moments in an ARPG that, you know, you will die probably, but you might learn something from it. Now maybe the devs are a little bit hesitant to go down that route. They've given us 3 lives to do a mission with, and maybe they're concerned that this type of sort of exploration might be a bit too dangerous for players, but at the moment it's sort of playing a bit more like an FPS game. You spawn in a certain place and the action is all in front of you. You move in a direction, occasionally you turn left and right or come to a slightly bigger open space, but it's kind of like driving a car. It's feeling quite linear. Now what they have done is, Inquisitor Martyr has still got exploration, but what they've done is they've taken it all out of the game and they've put it in the star system instead. This is my assumption anyway, of course, because we're still missing a lot of stuff, but this is the impression I've been given, is that the sense of exploration comes from going to new planets and new systems, but essentially what you do is you click on a mission, you load down, and here you are on a sort of A to Z road system again to complete your mission. You lose that sense of exploration. Now, I'm not saying that they have to do a drastic U-turn here and put loads of tile sets together to, allow you to load from one to another, although I do think that would actually be a fairly good feature if they had a sort of an endless exploration mission where you could do one tile set, you find an exit, it loads another tile set, and you just carry on bashing through stuff. That might be a little bit more interesting than what we're currently doing, although maybe could be a little bit stressful on the load times. But this sort of map tile system, again, just in conclusion, I don't actually think is adding a lot to the game, but I do respect the fact that a spaceship should not be a wide open space, and I think the current tile sets are fairly well suited. I'm just saying I feel like they need some wider, more open ones as well to really get the game feeling more like an ARPG in terms of its combat and exploration. Now, as well as that, something that ties in with this is when you're going around exploring on a traditional ARPG, you'll find new quests, you'll find new things, really. So you might be on a quest, you'll be going from the start to the finish point, and in the middle of that quest you'll find another quest, side missions, side quests, etc. They're not on the star map, they're in the actual combat, in the mixture of the combat. This does two things. It gives the player the choice. It gives the player the choice to say, do I want to do this side quest or do I want to continue with my mission? I can completely ignore it, I could come back to it later, or I could just take it and get on with it. And therefore the player feels like they've done something their own way, which I think is something important to the ARPG player. It's an important experience to make you feel like you've had an impact, rather than just clicking on a mission saying, I want that one, and just loading that mission. That doesn't actually make you feel like you've done anything individually. It makes you feel like you've made a choice, but it's not the good type of choice. It's sort of a tacky type of choice, if that makes sense. Guys, I don't think that it needs to be drastically changed, but what I would love to see, what I think might even help generate some of these feelings, are rather than just having lots of randomized events within maps that are things like traps going off, or I don't know, more enemies randomly spawning somewhere due to XYZ events. We know these scripts are being added. But while on a mission, how about if we're on a large map? While we're on that map, why don't we load a sub-quest within that? So let's say we're doing a purge mission, we're on a big open tile set, and halfway in the middle we find an item. It can be anything, it can be the Emperor's left bollock, and you might be presented with the opportunity to take this bollock to, if you're not sure what a bollock is, feel free to Google, but don't look on the images, just do it on the words, and put filter on in case you're young. And this might give you another opportunity to do something else in that mission. You might say, sod it, I'm not interested in this, I want to crack on and kill everything. Or you might say, you know what, I want to do this mission now because it might give me an extra bit of reputation. And that, I think, is just an important feature for ARPGs to have. Now, I'm not saying every mission needs to have this, but maybe on the occasional turret mission, it might have a sub-mission within it. Maybe within extra large missions, there may be sub-missions within them. Again, optional objectives. Now, we do have a listed objective on the current inquisitorial mission selection, and maybe that will give rise to sub-objectives too. So maybe we can have a main objective, and we can have sub-objectives too. Although picking them at the beginning of the game, the mission, again, that kind of detracts from the whole point that you're finding stuff as you're going along. So I would like to find sub-objectives while you're in the damn mission. Maybe even bits of script things that make you pause. And this leads me on to the last point. If you're doing combat, and this is what makes ARPGs a bit, or can make an ARPG a bit boring. If you're fighting for 15 minutes straight in the campaign, you will probably get bored, okay? Because you will be doing the same sort of combat pattern for 15 minutes in a goddamn row. What an ARPG does, and what Van Helsing does quite well, is it mixes it up with a bit of text, some animations, the odd cutscene, the this, the that, the other, and it's also unpredictable. You don't know what's happening next. And I know I've used unpredictable in terms of lots of different things, but not knowing when the next cutscene's going to be or what you're going to find around the corner, and some of it not being combat orientated, is, for me at least, something really important. Because at the moment in Inquisitor, and obviously this might change, but at the moment, when I load into a mission, I know I'm going to be fighting stuff for about 15 minutes. Let's say an average mission takes me 15 minutes. So I know that for that 15 minutes, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be fighting stuff. And because I already know what's going to happen for that 15 minutes, and I don't get any little breaks where I have to watch something or listen to something or read something, that kind of makes the combat feel more boring, basically. And I think it's something quite easy to work through, and I really hope the developers look back at Van Helsing, how successful it was, what most ARPGs do to break up the combat a little bit. Now, you do have the issue, of course, that in co-op you don't really want to have too much stuff, because then players start getting frustrated, saying, you know, what are you doing fannying about trying to, you know, put a plant pot somewhere? Oh, there's the phone. That's the girlfriend. Probably wanting to know what to pick up for tea tonight. Leave me alone. There we go. And, you know, your friends might start fannying about, wondering whereabouts they should put a plant pot on the map that they found. You know, you don't want to give them too much to do. However, you do perhaps want to do some things that allow your players to break up the combat a little bit. Maybe, again, not on every mission. Of course, there will be missions where players just want to grind, crack on with the combat, and if you give, you know, if someone wants to pause and find out what the side quest is, everyone else wants to do the quest, yeah, blah, 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 things might get a little bit awkward. So you do perhaps have to gear this maybe towards certain types of content, but I think for the majority of cases, if you do put these sort of little side quests on certain types of missions on, say, the larger maps, it's just something to think about, because it gives you something to break up the combat a little bit and to stop things feeling too repetitive, which ultimately ARPG combat does, because, well, you have a set amount of abilities, a set amount of enemies, hopefully all of that's all a little bit randomised, that makes it more varied, but at the end of the day you're still clicking left and right a hell of a lot, and every now and again it's nice just to take a little bit of break and see a random cutscene or listen to something or read a quick script from something. It doesn't really matter what it is, just something to break it up a little bit. Guys, this has been my rant, but I would like to hear your rants below. I want to know what makes an ARPG special for you. Are you just interested in hack and slash? What do you think about the map tile sets? Do you like this corridor-based sort of exploration? Do you feel like the star map is a satisfactory way of navigating the galaxy? What do you think about all of this stuff? Let me know in the comments down below. I'll forward it all on to the developers myself. Have a great weekend, guys. Take care.